A very good morning and welcome to Smart Men's Business. I'm Andrew Barigi, and today is the 7th of October, just 2 days to celebrating 60 years ever since Uganda got its independence. That's quite a remarkable achievement right there. And I also officially welcome you to this particular segment of Smart Men's Business, and that's the news recap where we go through the day's previous news stories. Of course, what's making headlines into the world of business. Go TV channel 394, DSTV channel 372 as we bring to you the business news at your sitting room right there, and you make the appropriate decisions regarding your business activity right there. And to start with, I will start with the opening ceremony of the Uganda Manufacturers Association. That's as the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of East African Community Affairs, that's Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, asked the management of the Uganda Airlines to stretch its wings to cover more African countries to boost Uganda's exports. And of course, she made the remarks at a time when the 28th Uganda International that's Trade Fair and Exhibition had just kicked off earlier this week. Let's have the details of this report.
Non-tariff barriers are restrictions that result from prohibitions, conditions, or specific market requirements that make importation or exportation of products difficult or costly. Non-tariff barriers have a huge bearing on the cost of doing business, not only in Uganda, but also the entire East African region. Government is set to eliminate non-tariff barriers to boost businesses, as the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of East African Community Affairs, Honorable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, explains.
Of course, one of the difficulties we have been having is the barriers in the market, in the common market. Our protocols, the Customs Union Protocol, the Common Market Protocol, there are several breaches, and they keep occurring continuously. But what I want to undertake here and to assure the business community here that I'll apply extra energy to ensure that these non-tariff barriers are eliminated so that we can trade as expected under the Common Market Protocol.
According to the airline business plan, in the second year of operation, the national carrier had planned to have 18 and 4 regional and international routes, respectively, but this was hindered by the COVID-19 effects. Honorable Francis Mwebesa, the Minister for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, briefed Kadaga that the lack of air transport connectivity that stretches to the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS market, is a huge challenge to Ugandan manufacturers.
To retaliate the government's commitment to development of infrastructure, roads, railways, energy, ICT backbone, and the implementation of policies, plans, and strategies to reduce on the cost of doing business. With the effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Areas, which requires the development of infrastructure for intra-Africa linkages and the removal of tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade, the business community will be assured of a huge market of over 1.3 billion.
As of today, Uganda Airlines boasts of a couple of operational routes, including Nairobi, Dubai, Kinshasa, Johannesburg, Juba, Dar es Salaam, Mogadishu, and Bujumbura. In response to the manufacturers, Kadaga asked Uganda Airlines to add on its routes ECOWAS states, which will boost profits for exporters through reduction of export costs, since there will be direct flights from Entebbe to West Africa.
Think about the cargo flights, because one of the things that the private sector have been talking about is how to get their cargo out of Uganda. On Monday, maybe I can say this because I said in the cabinet, I told the Minister of Defense that I want to know when will he actually put these planes on the market so that people can use them. She assured me that in less than a month, a cabinet paper is coming for that. But at the same time, I've been pressurizing the Minister for Works. When I went to DR Congo on the first mission, one of the things they told me is that they really need cargo flights. So I hope that Uganda Airlines will also do the needful and at least start cargo flights, not only to DR Congo, but the ECOWAS region, because I've received requests also from the ECOWAS region about the need for cargo transport.
To improve trade within the East African region, there is need for the use of the common currency, and this will be implemented in 2024.
The African community has in program the issue of the common currency, which we expect should be in place by 2024. So we now have to whip ourselves in this 2023 to ensure that we establish the Monetary Institute quickly and followed it with the East African Central Bank, for which, by the way, I'm trying hard to make sure that it comes to Uganda. We have got land here in Naguru. So we also have the Greenlands Bank in case they want to start there. So we are ready for the East African Central Bank. We just need to get the mechanics out of the way. So
the East African Community Elimination of the Non-Tariff Barriers Act 2017 defines non-tariff barriers as laws, regulations, administrative and technical requirements other than tariffs imposed by a partner state whose effect is to impede trade. Uganda loses about $827 million, approximately 3.1 trillion annually in logistics inefficiencies in import and export of goods. Yet logistics costs account for between 18 to 20% of the sale price of goods sold in Uganda, according to the National Logistics Platform.
Thus, the first Deputy Prime Minister urging the management of the Uganda Airlines to increase more routes in Africa to boost that intercontinental trade, whereby Uganda can be in position to trade its products to other African nations. That's something very remarkable and to be taken seriously by the management right there. And away from that, let's say to piloting that investment for small and intermediary enterprises as the Uganda Development Bank secures a loan that's from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa in the value of $20 million. Let's have the details of this report. I'll be returning with more highlights.
In an annual report on European SMEs 2020-2021, small and medium-sized enterprises are the backbone of Europe's economy. They represent 99% of all businesses in Europe. They employ 100 million people, account for more than half of Europe's GDP, and play a key role in adding value in every sector of the economy. In Asia and America, it is even beyond. However, the SME sector in Africa is still underperforming. A study by New Partnership for Africa's Development estimated that SMEs need between $30 to $70 billion to survive in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis. But in the end, few were mobilized by governments to provide this support. The Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa says that there are mechanisms in place to ensure that this is a win-win situation.
Before 1 year. And this makes it a little bit challenging for a bank to lend to this startup. And in general, microfinance, micro and small and medium enterprises don't have, in general, the ability to produce financial statements, which are the basic requirement by any commercial bank. This is why we had to think out of the box, to think about how this can this issue can be solved, and how micro, small, and medium enterprises can have access to finance and to be able to reimburse. And if they not reimburse, the bank will not make a loss, because if the bank were to make a loss, they will not continue to lend. And this is why institutions like AGF, the African Guarantee Fund, comes, because they are providing guarantees for bank on a portfolio basis if SMEs are not in a position to repay, so the bank gets repaid by the guarantee fund.
Uganda Development Bank says it will see to it that this funding bridges financial gaps and helps identify more suitable SMEs to benefit from this funding.
It's two-pronged approach. One, we have the businesses already that we have to keep on, improving their capacity. So we keep on monitoring to say, what is it that they need within the business to run the businesses better, okay? Do they need support in management, governance, etc.? So we keep reviewing, we monitor, and then we're able to assess and discuss, and then we see how to provide those solutions. And then the other one, which is quite new, is supporting those that are not yet in our portfolio, but you want to encourage to bring them in. So previously when they come, or the reasons that the banks where everyone ties or turns them out, turns them away, is because in our language we call them not bankable. In other words, they do not meet the requirements that any bank would need. Do you have a business plan? Do you have financials? Do you have collateral arrangements? Do you have, those kind of issues? Do you have, what is your management like? Issues around governance. So previously, if they do not have that, then a bank cannot, a formal financial institution like a bank.
On a continent where SMEs represent 90% of businesses, each crisis must be anticipated and thoroughly reflected in order to protect this network that provides millions of jobs and drive African small and medium enterprises.
The Uganda Development Bank has secured a loan from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa in the value of $20 million US, or that's roughly about 76 billion shillings, Ugandan shillings. As per the arrangement, $10 million, that's about 38 billion, will be used to subsidize illicit imports. That's transactions from Arab nations, and an excess of 10 million US will be utilized. That's to fund legal private sector enterprises for Ugandan borrowers. Okay, and let's cross over to the women-led medium, small and intermediary enterprises, as the Federation for Small and Intermediary Medium Enterprises in Uganda has initiated that's a policy dialogue with Netherlands Embassy. Its objective is to examine market opportunities and develop supportive environment for women-owned micro-sized businesses in Uganda. Let's have the details of this report.
Women entrepreneurs confront a range of obstacles, specifically when attempting to sell their commodities. The sector's growth is being restricted by this, and it has an impact on the economy.
Due to the fact that the global economy and SMEs are yet to recover fully from the pandemic. Secondly, the inflationary pressures, both at the global level and at the national level, are feeding into high cost of doing business for SMEs. Now, in particular, women and youth-owned businesses have been hard hit. Now,
first of all, the markets are not enough for our product, and the space is also not enough. Getting space where you can put your product is also very difficult. The landlords usually hike the prices. So, for example, if you have a capital of 1 million, you cannot be able to make ends meet if the landlord is telling you to hire space for 600,000. That means your business is not going to work.
As per Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, the ministry is partnering with women working in small-scale enterprises to boost investment and make attempts to start their own businesses.
Trying our level best to impart in more knowledge, to make sure that the women now can compete at those, not only at micro, small and medium enterprises, but even up to the large scale. So I want to encourage all women out there. Let's handle businesses, let's support our families, let's work. Let's utilize our most of our time into work, not into leisure.
Some of the female business owners who took part in the discussion emphasized how crucial policy discussions are to their operations.
It's going to help me to reach that person that has never even heard of Kaugi. It has helped me, having the knowledge about the dialogue has helped me reach my customers. It has helped me reach the customers that do not know anything about Kaugi. I have taught them how I add value to it, how nutritious it is, especially from, depending on the different cultures. There are those people that had never even heard about the word cow ghee. But
during the launch of the Netherlands Village at the 28th UMA exhibition, Mr. John Warugembe, the proprietor of Federation of Small Medium Enterprises, revealed the dialogue to see the kind of policy interventions to be used by the government.
What kind of policy interventions can we come up with in order to ensure that our SMEs remain afloat, particularly women-owned businesses, because of their unique contribution to job creation and to poverty reduction? Now, we recognize that government has a mandate to curb inflation and has been relying on monetary policy tools, including raising the CBR to curb inflation. But we must be careful. You know, if we don't want to use one tool only, if you only use one tool to solve every problem, you get another problem. So I think raising the CBR too much when the cause of this inflation is not local may also not serve our purposes.
And away from that, let's head to the new regulations. That's in terms of the microfinance, as in order to protect the public audience to the fraudsters that are rising up day by day. The Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority is wrecking the system. Has developed a new revised criteria that will be put into effect. That's from next year. This has been disclosed by the legal counsel of the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Let's have the details of this report.
The government is planning to leverage the country's network of microfinance institutions to pull households and communities out of the deep poverty imposed on by the COVID-19 pandemic and the containment measures that ensured to attain middle-income status. In an interaction with Shira Mlungi, the legal advisor for the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, UMRA, new regulations were developed to boost the efficiency of the microfinance institutions and minimize the incidences of fraud.
UMRA is mandated to develop guidelines that will assist in the regulation of self-help groups. Last week, UMRA issued these guidelines that guide the groups on how to conduct their operations. And basically what is included in the guidelines, we are defining, number one, what a self-help group is. We are talking about the different forms, the different types of self-help groups. We have the VISLAs, those are Village Savings and Loans Associations. We have the SILCs, the Savings and International Lending Communities. Number one, we are going to first translate these guidelines into local languages. We shall have Luganda, Runyachitara, and then we shall have Luo and other languages, okay? So that we are able to communicate with the public that understands what we are doing. And then we are going to go down to the communities, because in the formation of the guidelines, we had to seek the input of the local communities. We went down to the groups, the members of the groups, the districts where these groups are located, and we sought their opinions and we got their input in the development of the guidelines. So now we have to go back to them and now start teaching them what exactly is found in the guidelines and what exactly is required of them. Then we're also going to use media platforms like smart TV, radio stations, the newspapers, but basically we are going to do more of moving from one area to another.
Sheila added that UMRA had planned ahead of time. The UMRA's communication officer, Binde Edward, digested the value of the proposed rules, which include standardizing the money lending industry and inspiring the adoption of healthy habits that will encourage galvanizing savings through circles. He also anticipated how the regulations would work to make an institution fraud-free.
Many groups have had issues of fraud where members have been losing money to people. And so government thought it wise that they come up with the guidelines to streamline the operations and the management of these groups. basically to prevent fraud, to safeguard the savings of these groups. That is the purpose, basically. Yeah, because people have been losing money. We have every now and then we've been getting complaints from the public where the so-called treasurers are disappearing with people's money. So basically, we're trying to bring back sanity to ensure that the savings of these groups are protected.
The Tier 4 Microfinance Institution and Money Lenders Act 2016 constituted the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, UMRA. The authority is bringing the new laws into action with the Tier 4 regulations for money lenders and non-depots taking MFIs having been gazetted and issued. The industry's reputation has been damaged by the rampant fraud in circles and the unethical practices of money lenders.
Let's close this with a revenue mobilization, or what we call revenue collection. For development to continue, there is need to have a stronger and more certain revenue flow in order for the government to meet its expenditure requirements and needs and encourage, of course, foreign investment. According to Abel Kagumire, the Commissioner of Single Customs at the Uganda Revenue Authority, they have come a long way to transform the revenue mobilization strategy, and they are pledging to improve on their performance. Let's have the details.
Uganda was under the British leadership, but after 1962 it acquired its independence. And come 9th October 2022, the entire country will be celebrating 60 years of self-leadership, focusing on growth and development of Uganda. According to the half-year revenue performance report, this transformation journey firmly sets us on course to foster revenue mobilization in a bid to fully finance the economy, leading to a 13% growth of the GDP.
The regime has been growing, has been changing, has been in the 60 years of Uganda's existence, and it is growing and becoming better. So we need to celebrate that, first of all, we are independent, and as a country we collect our taxes, and then we also account for the taxes that we collect. Even how we spend, we are the ones who decide how we spend the money that we collect. It's a big milestone, it's a big achievement, unlike how it was before colonialism and before independence. Because those days you would not know whether what they are collecting is being returned to Uganda. But at least now we are sure whatever we are dealing in, whether it is minerals, whether it is forest, whether it is whatever we are involved in, the taxation can be accounted for. So we are here to celebrate that we are in charge of our taxation system.
However, the private sector has contributed to the growth of revenue, and this has stimulated the country's growth and revenue generation.
Private sector in Uganda's economy today, I can tell you, if you look at the contribution of taxes to government, all of it is coming from the private sector. There is just very few companies that are government-owned which contribute taxes. Over 98% of taxes come from private sector companies.
Uganda's revenue has been growing with an improving performance from its 5 major sectors, and this is the performance. The wholesale and retail trade sector, 29.41%. The manufacturing sector, 23.42%. The financial activity sector, 10.33%. The information and communication sector, 8.55%. Public administration sector, 3.75%.
That's it for the news recap this morning. Let's get into a short commercial break. We return. Stick around.